draw better?
Well, my friend, do I have the solution for you? To help me illustrate my point in how you can improve your art, we're going to be looking at me redrawing a really old piece of mine that I made when I was about 11, and we're going to be looking at my process from then to now. And so you can tell that obviously my style is very different. If you've seen some of my more recent art, you can tell that this piece is very old. I did not really know how to shade at all. And I mean, it's not a terrible piece, it's just definitely, you can tell that it was made by a beginner artist. There are a multitude of problems, tangents, which is basically where two lines just barely touch, and it's a really bad problem in composition, which is something that more advanced artists start to get into. You start to run into tangents in composition when you start becoming more of an intermediate artist, but a lot of my color choices were really bad, really off, and the way that I shaded everything in general was definitely not good. And I look back on this and I start to feel kind of embarrassed, but you know, we all have to start from somewhere. And it shouldn't be embarrassing. You should keep your old art and to be able to look back on it, because this actually made me feel really good about my art. If you have any art that you did in the past, even if it was just 6 months ago, try redrawing it. Try looking at what you think looks off about it and just try redrawing it. That right there greatly increases your confidence in your art in general. And I think that's a fantastic way to see what you've improved and what you can improve upon. This helped me really decide what I wanted to do with my art style. Redrawing old art is really just one of the best ways to see the difference. I also redrew another piece of art that I will throw up on the screen right now, but I personally think that this was really fun, and I will definitely be doing more of it in the future. So this character's name is Quinn, and he's an old character of mine, and I haven't drawn him in quite a while, so it was pretty fun to draw him again. But the design of the character is one of the most drastic things, I think, and I draw faces a lot sharper, and I give a little more realistic proportions and a little more realistic eyes, and I draw the hair much more soft and flowy and fluffy, kind of like downy hair rather than the really thick, chunky cartoon hair. And you'll see later that I shade it a lot better, and instead of just giving him kind of this blank expression, I decided to make him look at the camera, sticking his tongue out, maybe taking a selfie. I don't know. And this was when I was also in kind of my edgy emo phase. Like, gave him this like big eye scar and all these cheek scars, and so I kept the nose bandage because that's just a classic staple. But I took his scars and I really dumbed them down to these little lines. I didn't even keep his eye scar because that is probably the worst character design thing that you can give someone if you're not going to have a backstory for it. My thought was, oh, what if his ex hit him in the head with a bottle for no reason? Yeah, no, 11-year-old Mav was not the best when it came to cohesive character stories. I don't even remember half the things that I gave him. He was just one of those really embarrassing, complex OCs that you kind of look back upon and get kind of embarrassed from. But, you know, the fact that I'm kind of embarrassed about it shows how much that I've grown as a character artist and as someone who likes to write characters. And honestly, that's how I like to look at it. I like to look at it as improvement rather than shame. And that's also a very important thing when you are trying to collect different pieces of your art and look back upon it. You have to show and think about how you've grown as well. And so we're going to get into one of the main points of being able to draw well is you have to pinpoint your weaknesses. It's going to be kind of sucky to do this, and it might be a little embarrassing, but you have to look at your art. Put out a couple pieces of art, or if you haven't made that much, that's okay. You only need about 3 pieces for this anyways. Maybe even 2 can work. But you should have at least more than 1, in my opinion. But you lay them out, and you look at what you like about them. List all the things that you like. 11-year-old me would have looked at this and said, I like the line art, and I like the shiny colors. Like, I love how shiny and bright it is, and honestly, it has pretty dramatic shading. That's what I would have looked at it and said I like. What I could have improved upon is some more expression. I would have improved upon the shape, like his body language and the shape of his clothes and hair. And so that's what I worked on. I wanted to give him definitely more interesting hair, so I gave him these kind of very fluffy bits down by his neck, and I don't really know what to call those, but those are definitely pretty interesting. And I also looked back on what me now says about 11-year-old me's character, and I think it looks kind of cliche, kind of boring, and he doesn't look like someone interesting that I would look at this character and go, oh yeah, I would watch a show about this character and I would be invested in this character's story. No, I wouldn't, honestly. So I wanted to make this character something interesting, something kind of fun, you know? So I opened up his hoodie a little bit, and I gave him just kind of this tunic shirt. I wanted to keep it pretty close to the original design. I added these 3 little random buttons with a stamp. It's just one of the basic Clip Studio button stamps, and honestly, I don't think it fits in super well, and I wish that I didn't add it, but it's too late. So, I was just working on his hair a little bit, and I changed the sketch to a darker color, cleaned it up a little bit, and now we're on to coloring. See, I skipped the line art phase, because that's kind of my art style now. And so I actually forgot to flip this drawing back over, so he's just kind of facing the same way that the old drawing is, but I think that works a little better. So you can already see that the colors are much duller and in comparison, and that the shading is very soft, and I love to apply a dark shadow, like a soft dark shadow to one side and a very harsh highlight to the other. That's something that I think is pretty iconic in my style. And then I wanted to just kind of show the difference between my old style and my new style by really putting a lot of time and effort into the shading, really, of the hair. If you look, I know this is sped up, so it doesn't really look like it, but I spent a while on the hair, actually. I'll look back on how long the drawing actually took, but it took quite a while, and I was really proud of how it turned out, to be honest. I was worried that it wouldn't look all that different. I mean, I knew it would because I've had years of experience since I've drawn this previous drawing, but there's a little part of you that always doubts yourself, and that's also what I would like to talk about next in improving your art, which is you have to have more self-confidence. If you're constantly getting frustrated that you can't draw something, for instance, let's take the classic dilemma of not being able to draw hands. You have to look at it as improvement, like I said before, but if you just get frustrated and say, well, I'm never going to be able to draw this, well, look 11-year-old me's drawing. If you would have told me, 11-year-old me, that I would be able to draw this thing on the right, I would have never believed you. No, that's not my art. What on earth? Yeah, I wouldn't have believed that. It just takes persistence. It may take years, but you can do it. I believe in you, but you have to also believe in yourself. You basically have to take your own thoughts with a grain of salt. And I know that sounds kind of strange, but you really do, honestly. It takes a lot of trial and error. It takes a lot of, and I hate to say it, studying. You have to study your own art style, other people's art styles of creators that you like. It takes a lot of persistence, but if you really are passionate about art, and if you really want to get better, and if you really want to thrive, you can. Art may be frustrating at first because you can't draw what's in your head, and that's why a lot of people actually quit art, because they can't draw exactly what they see in their mind, and you won't be able to for a little bit. You just have to get that pen on the paper, that stylus on the screen, that paintbrush on the canvas. You have to just start, because everybody's gonna start somewhere, and that's really where the root in the just practice art advice comes from. Because if you never start, if you never practice, you're never gonna get anywhere. Sure, getting better and improving takes more than just starting and just practicing, but that is the core of it. That's the first step. And that's why a lot of people tell beginner artists to just keep going, just practice, because a lot of great artists, they will tell you that you have to get all the bad drawings out of the way first. You have a lot of bad drawings in your hand, and every artist does. No matter how experienced you are, no matter how many years you've been making art, you gotta get the bad art out of the way first before you can really get to the gems. But you will notice that the more that you learn about art, the more gems you will find, and the more often they will be. Now we're getting into the part where I'm trying to fix the old drawing. I'm trying to go back, I'm trying to blend the shading a little bit because that shading was not blended at all. I was trying to go for shell shading, but it didn't work, so I was trying to maybe save this, give him an actual hairline, trying to fix it a little bit, fix the anatomy, proportions, anything really. It didn't work. I couldn't save this drawing, to be honest. I really couldn't. I was trying, I swear. I was trying to add some strands of hair, I was trying to make it make sense, and I was trying to add highlights. I mean, I know that I probably shouldn't have gone in and tried to fix my art. I think it looks a little better. I think it definitely improved a little bit after I went in and fixed some of the shading and I did some work on it. But if I'm being honest, sometimes your art doesn't need to be fixed. Sometimes it's going to be okay just how it is, because that is basically like a relic. Treat it like an old relic that you have. And so that was my drawing. That was me redrawing some old drawing, and I hope that you can see the difference between my art style. And remember, keep going. Keep pushing yourself. Because you, yes you have got this. Thank you so much for watching my video, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and maybe if I'm lucky, leave a comment. And I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope that this was helpful. Bye!